What's up, guys? My name is Samantha, and I'm going to tell you about how I overcame my PTSD, how I took my power back, and how you can do the same. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time, and I got in my head a lot. I would start recording it, and then I'd just be like, I can't do this. And it's all because I don't have a piece of paper that says I am a licensed therapist, psychiatrist, or anything like that to talk about trauma, even though I have a lot of trauma in my life and I overcame it. So, like, I think I'm pretty qualified. Wouldn't you agree? So, and then I just got in my head, and you know what? I'm just going to tell you how I overcame it. Take it however you want, give it a try, but just know that regardless of what trauma you have experienced, whether it happened to you or you chose to go into a field that you know is there's trauma in there, whether it's a first responder, being in the military, you can overcome it. You should not be punished. You should not feel like you are hopeless or you're a lost cause. I felt this way. Scrunchy, I'll go ahead and take that off. I felt that way. I felt like shit. I felt like just all kinds of things. And I also had doctors, I had psychiatrists tell me that, oh, honey, this is just the way life is. You're going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life. Here's some medication. You can't overcome this. You can. That's a bunch of bullshit. So I'm going to tell you how I overcame it. It is not pretty. It is not easy. You feel like you're losing your mind, but it's worth it because now I don't experience any triggers that I had before. I'm not in a survival mindset, and I feel relaxed and at peace the majority of the time. I'm also going to be telling you a little bit of my background. I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm just going to share my experience, my trauma, what I went through, because I think people are just afraid to talk about trauma, whether it is, you know, they don't want people to think that they're damaged and broken. And this is from personal experience. This is how I thought. I was told never to talk about trauma, your trauma, just because of how people respond to people with trauma. If you were sexually abused, then you're broken, you're damaged, nobody wants to be with someone like that. You're dirty. And you know, especially if you're a first responder, a police officer, you can't let anybody know that you're struggling because you can't be vulnerable. That's part of the job. It's kind of like a suck it up, buttercup. You knew what you were getting to in this job, so you can't talk about it because you might lose your job. And I don't want people to be afraid to get help. I don't want people to feel like that. Just, you know what? I don't want people to be afraid anymore. I don't want people to have this shitty feeling inside that you're broken, you're unlovable, you're damaged, fear all the time. I don't want people to feel that way. So I'm going to be as vulnerable as possible. Oh, I'm going to be very vulnerable, which is funny because that is like my number one trigger. My subconscious mind, if I had a hint of being vulnerable with anyone, I would self-sabotage. I would have the most ridiculous responses or emotional responses. I would rather jump into a shark-infested water than be vulnerable with someone. And I'm afraid of sharks, so that really says something. So I'm kind of losing my train of thought. I'm very passionate about this, but I really want you to understand that you can overcome this. And it is possible. You just have to put in the work. It's not going to be easy. It's going to suck. You're going to feel like you are losing your damn mind. But make sure you have people around you, even if it's just one person to help you through this. Communicate with them. You could be a therapist, whatever you need. You don't want to do this alone. So quickly, we'll go over my background. So at a very young age, I was sexually abused, sexually assaulted as a teenager, and I kept getting unwanted attention from men. And then in my late 20s, I decided that, oh, I'm going to be a police officer. And I was a police officer for 5 years. So I've experienced a lot of trauma. When I was in my early 20s, I realized that I had a victim mentality because things kept coming to me. I kept getting unwanted attention from men and I didn't know why. And I don't know if it was God, it was just my subconscious mind like smacking me, saying that you have a victim mentality. So if you believe you're a victim, the world is going to give you things to be a victim to. And that like blew my mind. I started calling myself a warrior. I did not believe in calling myself a survivor. Now you can call yourself whatever you want, but in my mind, survivor was like a glorified version of a victim. It didn't resonate with me. So I always told myself that I was a warrior. I would always push myself. I would prove people wrong, but I did not address my past. I didn't address my trauma. I would still suppress everything. I still had self-sabotaging tendencies. I was difficult in relationships, but I was attracting people who were difficult as well. So I was attracting toxic people and I was also toxic, and because I had all these limiting beliefs. And then when I became a police officer in my late 20s, I started realizing that I couldn't suppress anything anymore. I felt like I had to be tough because I was a woman and I didn't want to be emotional. And it's kind of funny because vulnerability was really hard for me. But when you're told not to be vulnerable, and when you get into situations where you wish you can talk to people about these situations, but you can't because they're kind of like, suck it up, buttercup. It was a buildup and I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I almost took my own life. But it was a wake up call. I didn't want to do it. It was one of those, like, I had a voice in the back of my head, just do it, do it, do it. All your pain will go away. And that scared the shit out of me. So then I went and I got help. I discovered energy healing, Reiki, and then I discovered the power of my subconscious mind. Even though I was studying the mind, the subconscious mind, but because I wanted to be a work for the FBI and be a behavioral analyst, I was studying criminals' mind, behaviors, nature and nurture, nature versus nurture, nature and nurture. So I was studying that, but I didn't realize that I could be applying that to my own life. Pretty much when I discovered the book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, that was a game changer for me. So then last year I saw one of the people who attacked me as a kid, and I spiraled, and I thought that I had overcome a lot of stuff from my past, and I realized I didn't. I was still self-sabotaging. There was a lot of things I was kind of like brushing under the rug that I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm okay, but I really wasn't. So this is what I did to take my power back from my PTSD. And let me rewind. So when I did see this person, I froze, and it was really embarrassing for me. And this was like out at a local store. It was embarrassing to me because, one, I thought I overcame this. I thought this part of me was done. And another part was, I was a police officer. I was trained not to freeze. I should have walked over and punched him in the face. Like that was what I always imagined I would do, but I didn't do that. I was still frozen and I felt like a kid again. And then I spiraled. And then eventually I snapped out of it. I was like, no more. I am fed up with this. I am not allowing this bullshit, my past, to control my life. So then I started my journey. Took me about 5 months. And at the end, now I noticed changes within that 5 months, but it wasn't until after the 5 months where I kind of like woke up and realized, I'm not afraid. My mind is kind of calm. I'm not experiencing anxiety anymore. So it was really cool. And so here I am. I'm going to share with you everything that I did. 1, understand what PTSD is. We all know that you're depressed, you get flashbacks, you can't control your emotions, nightmares, all that. We know that. But do you really know? Do you know, or did you know that men and women experience PTSD differently? Women, their PTSD goes unrecognized because they're more internal. They might feel more depressed, more anxiety. They are more avoidance. We avoid anything that has to do with our trauma, any hint of anything familiar to our trauma. We avoid it. We avoid confrontation. And so everything kind of goes inward. We feel numb. We disassociate a lot. And we just don't know how to control our emotions. Our emotions are all over the place. Now, this isn't to say that men don't experience this, but women see this more often, and we get scared easily. We jump, like our bodies are on high alert. So whenever we get startled, it's like, whoa, we get scared. Now with men, they're more external. That's when they do the drinking and the drugs. So they're more external. Now, even when you experience trauma, depending on what age you experience it, if you experience it during your developmental years, it messes with or it affects your mental processing, your problem solving, your reasoning, your reaction to things. So for me, I experienced trauma when I was 5 years old. So whenever I wouldn't understand math. Math was a huge issue for me. Still is today, but I'm not stressed about it. If I didn't understand it, I went from like, okay, a little frustrated, to full-blown having a stress panic attack. I would cry, I would get angry, my body would shake, and I didn't know how to regulate my emotions. Also, I was diagnosed with a learning disability. I am dyslexic. I just can't. You tell me something without writing it down, you're like, okay, give me a math problem or give me an equation just telling me, my mind just can't take it. Forget math. I mean, numbers were flipping and switching all over the place, and I was more visual than anything. So my emotions were all over the place. I went from 0 to 60, 0 to pissed off all the time. And this continued, through my teen years and even into adulthood. So the other thing that I started, my other tips and tricks, is trauma is unique to you. It was unique to me. It's unique to you. We have our own triggers. Different things bother us. Depending on what your trauma is, you're going to have a different experience. You're going to be triggered by different things. So let's say you got into a car accident, like a major car accident, and every time you get into a car, you shake and you have anxiety. That's a trigger. That's your mind, your subconscious, like, hey, oh, whoa, hey, what are you doing? Last time we were in the car, you got into a major car accident. We're not doing that again. So it's going to get you out of that situation as much as possible. That's why it creates the emotions, the fear, the shake, the sweating, whatever it is. So you have to start paying attention to your triggers in your environment. And this is where you have to start being aware of your mind and your body. Whenever you go into a store or a place of any kind and you get anxious, be like, really ask yourself, should I be anxious? Should I have anxiety right now? Or is this something from my past? And when you do this, you're going to discover things that are triggers that you didn't even know they were triggers. Here are some of my examples. I was always afraid to use the restroom at anyone else's house. My house is fine. Public bathrooms were okay. And I always thought I was embarrassed that people could hear me pee. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want people to hear me pee. And I would have a lot of anxiety. I would shake, and sometimes I would feel like I was going to throw up. And then I didn't really think much of it. And then when I was at someone, and it's like, I would make it a point to avoid using the restroom. At all costs, I would hold it. Like, I have a bladder of a champ, like I can go days without peeing because I refuse to go. But then there were times where it's like, well, I'm going to be here for a while. I have to use the restroom. And it wasn't until I was at some event that I went into a bathroom when there was no one around at someone else's house. And I still had the emotional response, and I'm trying to overcome my PTSD and really be aware. I was like, okay, why am I having this response? No one can hear me if I pee. What is going on? And then it came to me, most of my trauma when I was a little kid happened in the bathroom. So my mind associated bathrooms as stranger danger. This is where I was hurt. So we need to get out of there. Another one was I always had an escape plan. I don't care if I was going to a friend's house, wherever. I would always make sure I would park my car in a place, even if it was far away, where I can leave easily. Because if I couldn't leave, if I felt like I was trapped, like if someone was parked behind me, I would have an anxiety attack. I felt like I was unsafe and I couldn't leave whenever I wanted to. So there was another one. I noticed that when I was around people who were drinking, I would shut down. It was almost like I disassociated, but I didn't realize I was doing it. And I would get really tired. And that was my mind's way of trying to get me out of that situation, being around drunk people. And I refused to drink in public as well, because if I would drink, then how am I supposed to protect myself? My control would go down. If I drank, who was going to take care of me? It made me vulnerable. So I never drank in public. And if I did, it was one drink. And a lot of people would pressure me. And I was like, no, I don't freaking want to. Another one is I could not stay at anyone else's house. Whether it was a friend's, if I was dating someone, I could not stay at their house. I would have extreme anxiety. I would feel unsafe, even if they're friends that I've been friends with since I was born. I still would feel unsafe. So you really have to pay attention to what your body is telling you. Your subconscious, your body, and your subconscious is in your body is giving you feedback. Your emotions is feedback. Even your thoughts are feedback as to why you're having an emotional response at this time. So every day I recommend, if you can't do it in the moment, because sometimes you don't even realize it, and with practice, you become more aware of your body. At the end of the day, think, was there any time I felt anxious? Where I felt like I was going to puke everywhere, where I felt like I wanted to run away, where I felt like I was in danger? Write it and try to figure out if this is trauma related or something else. You'll figure it out. Tip number 3, understand your good old subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is a beautiful thing, but it's also a pain in the ass. When you experience trauma, you are flooded with a bunch of emotions, and sometimes it's too intense that you might go numb and you might disassociate, or you go into shock. Now, the subconscious does not like it. It is there to protect you. So instantly reprograms your mind right then and there. You now have a survival mindset, and you probably won't see the effects of this for maybe a couple days or a couple of weeks, but in that moment, your subconscious mind has already rewired itself to a survival mindset. It has created defense mechanisms. It has created thought patterns, emotions to protect you from the similar situation happening to you again. And so whenever for me, vulnerability, whenever I was vulnerable with someone, I'd want to be vulnerable. I would want to open up and, tell someone about my life. My subconscious mind associated being vulnerable as stranger danger, as bad things happen when you're vulnerable. So I'd always self-sabotage and I would get out of there. And my choice was self-sabotage. I would yell at the person. I would get defensive, anger, and I would always run away. That was my forte, my special trauma, my specialty, I guess. And but that was just your subconscious mind trying to protect you. And there will be some times where you just disassociate. So the subconscious thinks that this may happen again, and then it wants to protect you at all costs from this happening to you again. So that is why when you go into similar situations, a bathroom that isn't yours, or when you're around drunk people, it thinks that this is the beginning of you getting hurt again. And then it creates those defense mechanisms. And these defense mechanisms are unique to you. And it's usually based on what your trauma is and also repetitive thoughts. So when you do feel these intense emotions of anxiety, sadness, or guilt, it also creates thought patterns of not being worthy, being broken. And even when you do, like for me, when I told my therapist when I was 12 years old that I had been assaulted, they were like, oh, never tell anybody that. People are going to think you're broken. You better, this is why I cannot stand therapists. And I know there's a bunch of good ones out there, but I'm not even gonna get into it. I'll probably have to write a letter and burn that shit because I'm still holding on to a lot of anger and hate to this woman. But anyways, you have a bunch of limiting beliefs that aren't true. So depending on your trauma, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, based on what other people say to you, based on, you know, your repetitive thoughts and your emotions. You know, if you had something like me, when I kept getting unwanted attention from men, I always felt like I was dirty. Like, am I putting off, you know, I don't know how to say it, like trashy or, I don't know. Like I could feel the emotion right now. I don't know how to explain it. So then when I felt the guilt and the shame, I would have shameful thoughts, and thinking that repetitively will create a limiting belief and it will become part of your personality. So I've had a lifetime since I was 5, I'm 34 now, feeling shame, feeling guilt, feeling unworthy, feeling dirty, unloved, feeling broken, that I'm better off alone, you know, things like that. I've had that my whole life. This became part of my personality. Now, is this true? Abso-fucking-lutely not. It's not true, but I believed it to be true. I believed it to be true because it was part of my personality based on my trauma, the emotions I had, my repetitive thoughts, and what other people told me. But your subconscious mind likes what's familiar. It takes you away from pain and moves you to pleasure. That's where the self-sabotaging comes in. When you are about to be vulnerable or about to be in a situation similar to your trauma, the alarms go off and the subconscious is going to take you away from the pain and move you to pleasure. So what is that pleasure? For me, was getting the hell out of there, being far, far away from whatever was making me vulnerable. So going home was my thing. Like, home was safety, or just getting out of there. That made me feel good. A lot of times people will go to alcohol. They will go to drugs. That makes them feel good because it suppresses everything. And the mind works on repetitive thoughts. I've been kind of saying that a lot, but if you keep saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, the subconscious mind will accept it. And so that's the same thing when you're trying to change your mindset from a survivor mindset to just a calm, cool, collected mindset. It has to do repetitive thoughts. So understanding all of this. So at this point, I put everything together. I understood more about trauma. I now understand more about how I respond to trauma. And then I had a better understanding of the subconscious mind. So now it was time to put it all together. So I knew that with repetitive thoughts, I would be able to reprogram my subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind doesn't like that. It is your protector. It wants to protect you in any way possible. So when you start having new thought patterns, new thoughts continuously, it thinks there's something wrong with you. It thinks that this is stranger danger, because when you start having these positive thoughts and it doesn't understand what's good or bad, it just understands what's different from what you've done before. It doesn't like the unfamiliar. This is unfamiliar. It doesn't know the outcome of this new thought. Is it dangerous? Is it going to hurt us? Is it okay? We don't know. It's unknown. It doesn't like that. So it's going to create intense emotion, extreme emotion. I think that is an understatement, because you feel like you're going to go bonkers. But I had intense shame. I had intense guilt, unlovableness, unworthiness. And it felt like I was feeling it all at the same time. And then memories from my past to prove that the old thought of being unlovable, unworthy was true. So past relationships, people always leaving me when I was vulnerable and open about my past. Oh, see? Proof that you're unlovable. People treating me like shit, unwanted attention, just past memories, just to prove that I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I'm undeserving of love, and etc. Things that I probably haven't even thought of in freaking years. Then I was having the intense thoughts. This is too hard. Go ahead, give up, give in. Just, you know what? You're broken. Nobody can overcome PTSD. This is just part of your life. And it was trying to trick me into giving in to the emotion, because once I would give in, all the emotion would stop and I would be calm again. And I feel pretty good. But I didn't want that. I knew what the subconscious mind was trying to do. So whenever I had those intense emotions, I would be aware I had the emotion in my body, which was so freaking hard at first. And I would be paying attention to my thoughts. What was I saying to myself? And every time I had a negative thought, I would flip it. I'm not good enough. No, I am good enough. I didn't even believe it. I did not believe it, but I kept doing it, and the emotions were getting really intense, and I felt like I was having an internal battle. I felt like I was losing my fucking mind, because when you have this intense emotion of shame, guilt, and unworthy, and random memories from your past are popping up, even some from your trauma, and you are having negative thoughts saying that you're not good enough, you're unlovable, you don't know how to act around people. I was short-tempered. Things got worse before they got better. I was short-tempered. I was pushing people away. I just couldn't be around people. It was almost like I was punishing myself, that I'd rather be alone than people see me this way. And I just, oh my gosh, I didn't know how to act around people. And so I was silent. And it was hard for me to be happy. Again, all I wanted to do was curl up in a ball and cry and give up. I didn't always win. Each day was its own little battle. And sometimes I had multiple battles a day. The subconscious mind was relentless. It did not want me to be a new version of myself, which is crazy, because it's like I'm trying to become a better version of myself and trying to do good things for myself, like live a positive life, have more control. And your subconscious, or my subconscious, was like, bitch, shut up. You're not worth it. We're keeping you where you're at. We don't care if this is going to improve your life. We don't care. This is what we know. So we're going to stick to it. And it was very hard. And I am struggling to explain. I'm struggling to explain it, because I just felt like I was losing my freaking mind. I don't know how to explain it. All I know is that you feel like you're losing your mind. You feel like you're going insane, and you're questioning whether or not you do go back to the old version of yourself, or is it even worth it? Like, if your own body is fighting you, then maybe it's true. And there were some times where I did not, the subconscious won, and I would drink, I would have a bad hangover the next day, and I had to go to work, or I just cry, and I gave in to the emotion, I gave in to the thoughts, and that's okay, because it's like you're learning something new. You are going to fail every once in a while, but the next day, if you pick yourself back up and you do it again, you have won. even if later that day you fail or you fail multiple times a day. Just being in the battle, showing up is enough. So the first month was hell. It was hell for me. The subconscious mind would not lit up, but I was persistent, and I would also pay attention to my emotions. Whenever I had intense emotion, I would interrogate it. Why am I feeling this way? Is it something from my past in my environment that is creating the emotion? What is my subconscious protecting me from? Interrogate it. If you don't get an answer, that's fine. And then I would de-escalate the situation. I am safe. I am safe. This is not the past. I am safe and secure. This is not the past anymore. I am now in control. That will never happen again. It is okay. Like, you know, and I would just repeat, I'm safe and secure. I'm safe and secure. This is not the past. This is not the past. Like simple things, and de-escalate and just be present with the emotion, which was very difficult to do. But I was there with it. And it helped. It was almost like I took the subconscious mind, even though it was my enemy at times, but I also treated it like it was my 5-year-old self. And it was just scared. It didn't want to get hurt again. So I was like, my subconscious mind was the 5-year-old me, and I was just like, girl, it's okay. This is not going to happen to you. I'm getting emotional. This is not going to help it happen to you again. I am protecting you, and I will do everything in my power to protect you. You are okay. This is the past. And it was like, it was almost like that my subconscious, or like my 5-year-old self, just needed to be heard. Like, I'm just afraid right now. I was like, it's okay. You can be afraid. It's okay. I'm not telling you can't be afraid, but I'm telling you that it's okay. You're safe now. So if the emotion is too much for you, treat it as if it is you who experienced the trauma. It can be a little like a kid, or it can be a friend who just wants to vent and needs someone to listen. That's how he treated my emotions. That's how he treated my thoughts. I didn't do this at first. I started doing this maybe a couple weeks in, and it was a game changer, because it was almost like I was talking to myself. I was talking to my past self, like, listen, ain't nobody gonna be doing that to you again. Being a police officer, I know how to fight. I know how to take shit down, but I am surrounded by people who would protect me. I am safe, and it's okay to be vulnerable. That's a different kind of vulnerability. It is okay to open up to other people. So I did that as well. And I'm trying to think if I left anything out. Usually, like, I say things and then I forget what I said, and I don't want to constantly repeat. After a month, it did start getting easier. It was just like, it's like a hell month, you know, you're changing your mindset. You're going against the rules and regulations that your subconscious mind gave to you. And again, the subconscious mind was meant to protect you. It is your protector. And you're just like, nope, I don't need your protection no more. I'm in control. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? So here's my advice to you. Some of the things I wish I did, some of the things I did, and I'm glad I did. You need to communicate with the people around you. You need to tell them that, hey, I'm going to be changing my mindset. I might be a bitch a lot. Nothing personal, but I'm going to rage. And the reason why I'm raging is because I'm feeling intense emotion, because my subconscious mind is being an asshole, and I don't know how to react in situations. Just be honest. Now, this isn't like a green light for you to be a dick to everybody, but a lot of people are very understanding, and they will understand, hey, you're overcoming something traumatic. You're changing your mindset. You're facing your trauma. It's going to be hard. It's okay. We're here for you. We will understand. Now, I didn't really do this. I did this alone. I wish I opened up sooner. But I think it was more of a pride thing. I think it was more of a pride thing because I was a police officer, and it was more of a vulnerability thing. Again, I'd rather swim with sharks than be vulnerable with someone. But I think my recommendation to you is talk to someone, okay? One person, that's all you need. And let them know that it's gonna get worse before it gets better, and you're gonna be an asshole, and you don't mean to be an asshole. You're dealing with a lot of stuff in here, and in here you can't deal with the external. You know, from an outsider perspective, if you're not telling them what you're going through, then they're just gonna think that you're an asshole. But if you explain to them what's going on, have a support system, do that. Trust me, I wish I would have done it sooner. I pushed a lot of people away, and but you know, we're all good now. I mean, everything worked out, but I really wish I had that support system. Learn how to feel your emotions, because if you're anything like me, whenever I had an intense emotion, I would suppress it and I would run away from it. But now that you're becoming more aware of your thoughts and your emotions, you have to learn how to feel your emotions, processing them. What helped me was, like I said, the de-escalation technique, pretending like I am talking to my 5-year-old self. Another one is writing letters. You're going to be destroying them, but you can journal or you can write letters. And I would just journal, and I would write down how I felt about the situation, or I would write a letter to the person in my past, how they hurt me, how I wish I would like punch them in the balls and all this other stuff. Like, I really got all that out. Everything I wish I could say to this person, everything I wish I can say to the situation, my trauma, everything, I got that out. And then when I was done, I would rip it up. Now, this does two things. When you are writing it out, your mind thinks that you're actually saying it to the person or the situation. Like, you're telling them how it is. And then when you are ripping it up, you set the intention. I no longer hold on to this. I'm letting it go. It tells your subconscious mind that you're done with it. And you do feel better. You do feel better after you rip it up. Highly recommend that. This is probably one of the things I still do today. If I like get annoyed by someone or a situation, I write a letter and I'm fine. What else do I recommend? This was a game changer to me. There was a lot of things about my trauma through the years that I never told anybody. I was afraid to tell people, and I had it built up. So I told someone everything. I was like, I was open and honest. I didn't hold back. I felt like I was going to puke the whole time, but it helped me get all that stuff out. I no longer was holding on to the shame or the guilt from my past. Now, I immediately self-sabotaged afterwards. I was like, oh my gosh, my subconscious was like, this is like vulnerability overload. We need to get the fuck out of here. So I did. I ran. And that did not really work out very well for me. But I mean, it's just, it was just how I did things, and my subconscious mind was trying to protect me at the time. But I do appreciate this person who allowed me to be very vulnerable. I'm very grateful for this person, because I couldn't do that with anybody else, and it really was a game changer, and I felt fantastic a couple of days afterwards. So whether it is someone close to you, a family member, or a therapist, again, I know there are good therapists out there. I'm going to write a letter. A therapist, just be open and honest and don't hold back, and just know that your subconscious mind is probably going to bring up some physical things to prevent you from telling anybody. But once you do it, you will feel fantastic afterwards. So, closing thoughts. Oh, hello. Riley is here, my cat. Understand trauma, research it, understand what trauma does to you, your own triggers, your own shit. Understand how the subconscious mind operates. What happens to your subconscious mind during trauma? What happens to your subconscious when you're changing your mindset? What are the rules of the mind? really learn that, because it will make it easier when you are changing your mindset. You'll be like, oh, silly subconscious, I know what you're doing. And other times you forget and you feel like shit. Learn how to de-escalate your emotions. Learn how to feel your emotions. Try not to run away from your emotions when it gets intense. Try not to go for the alcohol. Try not to numb yourself or distract yourself. It's going to suck. Have a support system. Let someone know what you're going through, and even have a buddy with you and have you learn about trauma. Talk to them about your own triggers. Learn about the subconscious mind, because when you have someone on the outside who knows what you're going through, even when you're being an asshole to them, they'll be very understanding and they'll be able to recognize when you need help. You know, maybe even talk to this person. What do you need when you're feeling this way? Maybe let them know what your defense mechanisms are. So when they recognize it, they know, okay, they feel very vulnerable right now. They want to run away. What can I do to help? And then when you're done with everything after being an asshole, make sure you spoil them with a nice dinner and gifts for your appreciation. And I think that's really it. And just being stubborn and not giving up. I can tell you right now, so back in end of October, November of last year is when I felt phenomenally better. And since then, whenever I do get that anxiety, the random anxiety, I'm more aware of it. And I can de-escalate like this. I understand what's going on. A lot of times it's not trauma. I mean, I am human. I am going to experience anxiety. But whenever I do have a trigger, which is very rare, I know how to handle it. Instead of it consuming my life and me spiraling for days or weeks, maybe the longest is the rest of the day. And I don't have the same physical responses as I did before. I'm being vulnerable with you right now. I told you my trauma would never have done that a year ago. No way. Nuh-uh. I don't feel like I'm broken. I feel like I'm lovable. I feel at peace. I can sleep better. I will not be able to sleep with the lights on or lights off though. But I think that's more of a ghost thing than a trauma thing. But I'm sleeping better. I'm not afraid. I'm more confident. If someone's being, I don't know. I just like, I feel better and I feel like myself. I feel like my authentic self, and I'm not afraid to be who I am. And for me, that's kind of a win. So I don't know if there's anything else. If there is more, I'll put it in the description. But believe me, someone who has had trauma has had a survival mindset since I was 5 and experienced a lot of trauma after that. It is doable. You can take your power back from your PTSD. I'm not saying you'll be cured from it. I'm saying you take your power back and you'll be able to handle it better. Retrain your brain, reprogram your mind, recognize your triggers, and you can do it. You can. And it's worth it. It's going to be hell for a little bit. But when you get to the other side, and you notice that things aren't bothering you anymore, or you just wake up one day and you have a sense of peace, worth it. Totally worth it. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Any questions whatsoever. I'm here for you. I will help you the best that I can. If you need me to give you a pep talk, I will. But just let me know if you have any questions about this or what you're struggling with, and I can guide you. All right? So thank you so much for watching. I hope I got my point across. I intend I got my point across. Just know you are more powerful than you think. It is time for you to take your life back, step into your power, and level up your life. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you on the next one. Bye.